Yes, I am uploading a video about loneliness on Valentine's Day. You're so welcome. If you're watching this and feeling alone in life, I see you. Everyone experiences loneliness at some times in their lives, and autistic people are up to 4 times more likely to experience loneliness than non-autistic people. That's according to one study from 2023. An earlier study puts this in a similar range, saying nearly 80% of autistic adults reported feelings of loneliness compared to some 30 to 40% of the general population in that earlier study. So that's enough of that. But there is a myth that I want to talk to you about that just won't die. It's that autistic people want to be isolated. I mean, it is part of the job description of being an autist. The term autism means self or alone, and it's derived from the Greek autos. It literally is built into the name. It's as if we are fundamentally intended to be separate. You're diagnosed as being someone cut off from others, choosing to be apart. The myth is that we are intentionally choosing isolation, that we don't want or can't handle friends or connection, and that is not true for very many of us. What's actually happening is that many autistic people are seeking quality connection over quantity and choosing solitude to recover from the exhausting work of masking and navigating social environments that weren't built for us in mind. And I've talked about this many times over the last 2 years. The perverse irony is that loneliness feels worse around other people, not better. In 2023, researchers tracked the well-being of 3,000 autistic people across 3 different samples, and they were looking at real-time well-being and social context to test whether loneliness hurts more when alone, or if loneliness hurts more when you're around others. It's not surprising. They found that the loneliness well-being link was stronger in the company of other people. Telling a lonely person or someone on their own to just socialise more is like telling someone with a broken leg to walk it off. It doesn't just not help, it can actively make things worse. And that's not a metaphor, by the way. Neuroimaging research shows that loneliness activates the same brain regions as physical pain. Your brain is literally interpreting social disconnection as danger. And that's why saying just get out more doesn't work. You're not being dramatic. Your nervous system is sounding an alarm. The worst part of it is that loneliness isn't a solo sport. It's more like a team game because loneliness actually propagates. It moves contagiously up to 3 degrees of separation. And that's why it can feel like it spreads through a friend group without anyone meaning it to. Part of the reason feeling lonely feels worse when you're around other people is because you can see what you're missing. When you're surrounded by people who seem to be connected to each other but not to you, the contrast can feel unbearable. And it's not the absence of people that hurts, it's the presence of connection that you feel like you can't access. And social media, social media doesn't help, is in Mike's notes, but actually it makes it worse, right? Because it's so easy to compare our lives to carefully curated highlight reels of other people, a comparisonitis disease, if you will. It looks like everyone else is having a better time than we are, and it makes us feel kind of sad. Researchers writing in Nature back in 2021 found that overcrowded spaces increased loneliness and social inclusivity and contact with nature reduced it. Proximity to people doesn't resolve loneliness and can actually make it worse. This is very similar to the pattern in my last video called What if autism isn't the problem? The issue might be experienced by us, but we're not broken. We're not the problem. It's the mismatch between our needs and the environments that we are in. Environment is everything. If being around people doesn't fix loneliness, what does? Well, here's where it gets really interesting, because the opposite of loneliness isn't company. It might actually be solitude. So here's something that took me way too long to understand. Loneliness and solitude, they're not the same thing. They're not even close. Loneliness is what happens when connection isn't there, and solitude is what you get when you choose to be alone. One is pain, and the other is peace. And the fact that we confuse the two, even in academic literature, is part of the problem. So I went looking for the science on this because I'd heard people say that solitude was good for you, but I wanted to know if that was real or just something that we tell ourselves to feel better about staying in on Friday night. Researchers at the University of Reading tracked 178 adults over 21 days and measured their solitude, stress, well-being, and their sense of autonomy. And the results were not subtle. Solitude reduced stress, it increased autonomy, it enhanced self-awareness, but here's the part that matters. The negative effects of being alone, well, those were reduced or completely nullified when the solitude was chosen. And that's the whole game right there. Same state of being alone, completely different outcomes depending on whether you chose to be alone or not. Voluntary solitude is restorative, forced isolation is harmful. The only variable is agency. Very few people seem to ask if you want to be left alone or not. Maybe they can't see how being peacefully alone is working out for you. And if you're wondering how much alone time is too much, because I guarantee someone in your life has had opinions about that, researchers at the University of Arizona actually measured this. They looked at how much time people spend alone versus how lonely they actually feel. And people don't even start to feel lonely until they're spending more than 75% of their waking hours alone. Below that, a 3% overlap between being alone and feeling lonely. 3%. So the next time someone worries that you're spending too much time on your own, the data says that they're almost certainly wrong. Most people massively overestimate how much alone time is too much. And if you're autistic, you've probably been hearing your whole life from people who meant well, but didn't have the numbers. In an earlier video, I talked about masking and compared it to diving, but without any scuba equipment. You're holding your breath and desperately need to come up for air. Well, this is what coming up for air looks like in reality for me and for many autistic people. In fact, there's a great deal of evidence behind this too, as perhaps we'll talk about in the studio. Here's what really got me though. In 2024, researchers took 224 people who identified as lonely and simply had them read about the benefits of solitude. That's it. No therapy, no intervention, no 10-step program, just information. And it significantly improved how they felt during their alone time. Just think about that for a second. How you think about being alone literally changes the experience of being alone. Your belief about solitude will shape your reality. And then we wonder why people feel guilty for wanting 5 minutes or 5 hours or 5 days or 5 weeks or 5 months or whatever to themselves. We've established two things. Loneliness is real, it's painful, and being around people doesn't fix it. And solitude, chosen solitude, is genuinely good for you. So, does it mean that we should all just hide in the woods forever? No. And I say that as somebody who has genuinely considered it and moved from London to a remote island in the middle of the sea where I didn't know a single person when I arrived. Because the research is just as clear about this part. We need each other, and not in a vague, inspirational poster kind of way, in a this literally affects whether you live or die kind of way. Strong social connections reduce depression, reduce anxiety, they reduce inflammation and cardiovascular risk even. They increase how long you live and how well you live. And the effect size is comparable to quitting smoking. I don't say this lightly, mostly because I've just spent the last 10 minutes telling you that being alone is fine. If you think I'm being dramatic about loneliness, let me give you the numbers that changed how I think about this. The World Health Organization published a commission report in 2025. 1 in 6 people worldwide experience loneliness. Let that land for a second. 1 in 6. And they estimated that 100 deaths every hour are linked to social disconnection. 871,000 people a year are dying of loneliness. And the loneliest demographic of all, it's not who you expect. It's teenagers. 17 to 21% of 13 to 29-year-olds. And this isn't some niche Gen Z internet problem. This is actually a global public health crisis, and it is being treated like it's somehow your personal failing, as if each of the people here just needs to try a bit harder and go out and socialise a bit more. And it's not just young people, because I know someone watching this thinking, well, teenagers are always a bit dramatic. The AARP actually surveyed adults aged 45 and older in the US, and 40% report being lonely. And that's up from 35% just over a decade ago, and it's still climbing. Men report higher rates than women. Adults in their 40s and 50s, people in the middle of their careers, families, having supposedly full lives, are the most vulnerable group. So no, this isn't a kids on their phones Gen Z problem. This is an everyone problem. And the fact is, it's getting worse and not better, and I think that should genuinely concern us a little bit. The solution, I don't want you to hear this and think you need to drag yourself to some party where you have to mask for 3 hours and then spend 2 days recovering, just sitting in a dark room wondering why you bothered. The answer is intentional connection. Okay? Quality over quantity. The research consistently shows that a few genuine relationships where you can actually be yourself matter more than 100 superficial ones where you're performing a version of yourself that doesn't really exist. And I've seen it. The Scratching Post, our Discord community, is built exactly on this principle. Nobody's forced to show up. Nobody's performing. There's no obligation to be on. People just connect on their own terms and in their own time. Sometimes that's a Tuesday evening live stream. Sometimes it's a message at 2 o'clock in the morning because somebody's having a rough night and they know someone will see it. That's what intentional community looks like. It's not about numbers. It's about knowing that you belong somewhere. So connection isn't about a crowded room. It can be sitting with someone that you love and not saying anything. It can be parallel play on a Minecraft game or something. It can be, 15 cats who don't care whether you've had a good day at work or not. It can be a peacock screaming at you at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's connection too. Maybe not in the kind that textbooks talk about, but it counts. And the key insight from all of this research, every study, every data set, every intervention trial comes down to just one word: agency. The freedom to choose solitude when you need it. The freedom to choose connection when you want it. Not when someone else decides you should have it. Not when society tells you that you're broken for wanting to be alone. You get to decide. And that choice, that is what is actually protecting your well-being. All right, okay, cool TED Talk, right? What does it actually have to do with you? Here's the bit I want you to take away. 5 things, and none of them involve just pushing through it until you become some crispy, burnt-out husk of a human. Step 1. The internet loves a good listicle. Okay, 5 things. Number 1, reframe how you think about solitude. Solitude is not avoidance. It's not a character flaw. It's not withdrawing. It's not you being antisocial or broken or secretly a swamp goblin who hates people. It's the brain version of plugging your phone in at 7% battery because you know what's going to happen if you don't. If you keep treating solitude like a problem, you'll keep trying to fix it. You'll keep forcing yourself into situations that drain you, and then you'll blame yourself when you can't maintain them. Number 2, choose your solitude. Go for a walk without your phone. As long as it's safe to do so, right? Journal, sit in nature, give yourself permission to be quiet. 3, seek intentional community. Find your people, not just any people you'll do, your people, the sort of folks that you feel like you can be yourself around. If you don't have that yet, come hang out with us on YouTube on Tuesday evenings, UK time. If you like it, the Scratching Post Discord is the 24/7 version of my live streams, and access is via any of the tiers on my Patreon, including the lowest tier at just $4 a month, and includes a lot of extra video content too. I do want to say at this point, isn't just shoehorned in here like a YouTuber sponsored segment. If you can't or don't wish to join in with us right now, that's okay. Other spaces exist too. Spaces you can exist and talk and lurk and info dump and vanish for a week and come back like nothing happened. Spaces that are online and spaces that are local to you in person. There are plenty of people in this channel's community who arrive every Tuesday like a flock of migratory autistic birds, and then they just disappear again until next week. They're using elements of the community for space, for exchange, for regulation, and checking back in, and that's what intentional community looks like. I hope that makes sense. Number 4, trust yourself. If you need to leave the party, just leave the party. Do the Irish exit, just go. If you need to cancel plans, cancel the plans. It's kinder to do any plan cancellation as far in advance as you can. And if you're someone who cancels pretty close to the start time of events, right? If that's you, consider letting the people in your life know that you might do that in advance, right? It gives them the chance to make backup plans without you, and it removes some of the guilt. But ultimately, you are allowed to protect your energy. Just don't be an asshole. And you know what you need better than anyone else does. Lastly, number 5, build your own oasis. Create intentional physical spaces where you can regulate and recharge. I made a whole video about how to do exactly this. It is the autism version of Superman's Fortress of Autistic Solitude, if that wasn't an especially autistic analogy. And since I posted that video, I've loved seeing all of the photos viewers have sent in showing me your cozy indoor spaces or your favourite peaceful outdoor ones. I'll link the video in the description and on the end screen. And I think this video, if not the idea of creating a regulating space or an oasis, should be part of everybody's post-diagnosis aftercare. What do you guys think? What is one of the top 3 things you think somebody should know when they get an autism diagnosis? That they don't owe that diagnosis to anyone? That they need to create a physical space or have a physical space they can go to for regulation? What's the 3rd thing? Let me know in the comments below. And like and subscribe and do all the YouTube stuff while you're there. Make the bot happy. Diagnosticians, clinicians, feel free to just take this idea for your clients. You are not broken for wanting to be alone. You're not weird for feeling lonely in a room full of people. And you're just someone who knows the difference between being alone and being at peace. Okay, if this video helped you understand why you need solitude, this video on screen now will help you build it. And if you want to go deeper into why autistic people struggle in neurotypical environments, if you want to understand why the world feels so hard sometimes, this video on screen as well goes even deeper. And if you want behind the scenes stuff and extra video content and research and exclusive live streams and all that stuff, well, there's a link to my Patreon in the description below too. Take care for now.